Hello and welcome everyone. It is time to enter the kumite. Remember, this is not a sport. You don't play fight.
What's up, fight fans? Today we're going to be going over our top 5 favorite fights of the year. But first, if you like the content we're creating, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and you can follow me personally on Twitter. You can find the information down below in the description. So let's get right into it.
All right, guys. We thought a lot about what we believe truly makes a good fight. Is it a knockout? Is it an underdog making an incredible comeback? Or are the best fights only championship fights? We think the best fights come in a fighter's spirit and what they are fighting for. These fights truly embody the competition, determination, and technique we're looking for in fights.
First up, coming in at number 5, we have Dominic Reyes versus Yuri Prohaska. This one had to make the list, partly because I'm so high on Yuri Prohaska, but also because it was a dogfight while it lasted. I had to put it low on the list due to it not being a 3 or a 5-round war, but both fighters were actually knocked out in this one. Reyes landed a beautiful upkick on Prohaska that knocked him out for a second, but Prohaska did land on top and inside control just around Reyes' guard.
Freaking crazy, dude. Insane fight. Both fighters gave it literally everything they had, but in the end, there can only be one winner.
The fight was close, and Reyes showed his heart in this one. He did a good job at moving around and countering Prohaska's offensive pressure, but Prohaska is relentless in there and is always looking for the finish. He finds the finish with a big back spinning elbow. He throws a wide elbow just over the left arm of Reyes, lets his momentum carry him over, and uses it to follow up with the spinning back elbow for a nasty KO finish. It was extra special, too, because he waited for a moment for Reyes to look for a counter and open himself up for the spinning attack. What a fantastic delay for the finish. Even just the way that he fell is hard to watch. Oof. It's hard not to love Prohaska. He brings such an idealistic perspective to fighting and follows the Bushido code. He's one of my all-time favorite fighters already, even if he doesn't ever get his hands on the title.
Freaking insane fight, dude. Crazy way to finish.
Definitely earned his way on the list.
Brutal.
Next up, coming at number 4, we have Max Holloway versus Yahir Rodriguez. First off, I have to say that Yahir Rodriguez did a hell of a lot better than I thought he would. I predicted that most of his unpredictability would be neutralized and punished due to Holloway's consistent pressure and high-volume pace. Rodriguez landed some killer shots, some of which had me worried for Holloway. I will say that Holloway's pressure did put Rodriguez on his ass plenty of times, though.
Rodriguez really showed true heart, and as everyone expects from Rodriguez, he threw some crazy kicks, some crazy almost capoeira style.
Spinning attacks.
Yeah, just freaking insane, dude.
Creative elbows. He gets so creative.
Really fun to watch, and it's really cool to see how technical he is with his spinning abilities. Like, even watching him spar and watching him just practice is freaking ridiculous.
Rodriguez was trying to use the Philly shell and the shoulder defensive in this one to slip and roll on punches while keeping his rear hand up for parries. This didn't work too well on Holloway, though. Holloway throws in volume and mostly just kept throwing till it hit the mark. We also got to see some wrestling and jiu-jitsu displayed from both fighters. Rodriguez's grappling has come a long way since that Frankie Edgar fight, and Holloway almost got a guillotine finish. Holloway's leg got chewed up. I thought he may run out of options with his stand-up because of it. But it appeared as though everything went numb and it almost stopped affecting his performance at all. This was a good fight, a lot of action, a lot of willpower displayed, flashy strikes, and blood. What a fight for the ages, and will be a classic for fight rewatching.
I think Max Holloway is one of the only fighters I can say truly embodies, like, everything that I want to see in a fight. Like, if I see Max Holloway's on a card, I'm going to watch that fight.
Yeah. He's always keeping the pressure, willing to take a big shot, to land a big shot. He does everything in there.
Puts on a show.
He puts on a show, yeah, for sure. Next up, we have coming in at number 3, Kamaru Uzman versus Colby Covington 2. When the fight first started, it was looking like Covington didn't have much of a chance. Uzman was coming out there and beating to the punch, and it appeared as though Covington was second-guessing himself in there.
Yeah, he's very hesitant. We're used to seeing Covington come in high volume off the get-go and putting intense pressure on everybody, but it was weird seeing Colby not come out, hot-tempered and ready to go.
We got to see a bit of their grappling exchanges, which I really wanted to see in the first outing. Covington even got a takedown. It wasn't counted for some reason. But if you compare it to other takedowns in the past, it was certainly a takedown. It's not like he did much with it, but he can say now that he's the only person to score a takedown against Kamaru Uzman. He shoots in for the hips, then dips around to take Uzman's back. While he's pushing his leg into Uzman to try and create a point of leverage, he drives into it to basically trip Uzman to his knees. Pretty open and shut case here. I really should have done a breakdown video providing a closer look at this fight. There are a ton of interesting things to point out about both fighters. Uzman used his reach and strength to lay down the fire through the center, forcing Covington to take a more defensive approach and try to pull for counters. Covington certainly does a better job than Uzman at taking his head off the center line, but he likes to take a picture of something clean that he landed and somewhat looked away at some of the things coming his way. But Covington did a great job at finding some openings. He was really looking for the head kick, which I think Uzman is vulnerable to. Whoever lands it clean will need to tag it on at the end of a combo. It isn't going to work on Uzman if it's out there in the open.
Yeah, Kamaru obviously has shown incredible improvement coming out and showing us that his jab is, something to be wary of.
Yeah, there was a war of the jabs out there. Uzman more so threw his out there like a piston and used it to start his offense, and he started throwing hooks and straights afterward. Covington would slip his head off the center line and land his from other angles, as well as doubling up on him.
Both fighters, again, there's a reason they're on this list. Showing heart, showing incredible technique for grappling and striking, and even showing, what seemed like healthy sportsmanship at the end of the fight.
Yeah. There was a small show of respect after the fight. You could tell Colby walked up to him. It's like, hey, man, all bullshit aside, that was a hell of a fight. I respect you as a man and competitor. Something along those lines. But, of course, Colby has to get back to his character.
Yeah. Immediately going back to the press conference and,
talking his shit. That's what he does.
No respect for Uzman.
Coming in at number 2, we got Justin Gaichi versus Michael Chandler. This fight looked as though it belonged in the times of old. It was like watching two gladiators get in there and put their lives on the line in the cage. These guys are both Spartans.
Both fighters immediately coming out with the hooks, straights, pretty much just trying to land a kill shot from the get-go.
Michael Chandler was taking some damage and kept asking for more. I didn't think he was going to make it through the fight, but he has heart. He was keeping his hands dangerously low and trying to bait Gaichi in, but couldn't quite capitalize with his counters. Chandler hits so hard. He is so explosive and incredibly fast. From his leg kicks to his hooks, he came out to finish Gaichi. He tried with everything he had in him to finish the fight in the first round, like he predicted in the press conference. There was a couple of times where I thought his power might put Gaichi away, but Gaichi's got a chin on him, man. He's so durable and dependable in there. Gaichi had Chandler's leg chewed up by the end of it. I'm not sure how Chandler was even able to stand up by the third round. This fight was a war and one to go down for the history books, one of the most memorable fights of the decade.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Now we're going to get into some honorable mentions before we delve into the number 1 fight, our favorite fight of the year. Starting off, honorable mention number 1, we have Mateos Gamrot versus Guram Kotatalaze. This fight was a beautiful debut between two top-notch fighters entering the UFC at the same time. When this fight was put on, I was almost upset that the UFC pitted these guys against each other so early on in their careers. Both of these guys had me excited for their future. High-level strategy on the feet and on the ground. Great transitions between positions and razor close. Guram won the fight and then afterwards claimed that it was not his fight. I wouldn't say that, though. This fight easily could have gone either way. Gamrot was more dominant on the ground, but Guram dropped him in there and even displayed very high-level jiu-jitsu against Gamrot's wrestling offense, using a shoulder lock and throwing up submissions and going for sweeps.
Yeah, dude, I remember watching this fight with you and both of us immediately saying these are top contenders.
Yeah, I came to you and I was like, I have a fight to show you. You got to watch these.
And
both contenders, prospects, hardcore prospects.
Definitely worth watching, guys.
And we even released 2 separate Prospect Series videos in regards to both of these fighters. You should go check it out to see just what kind of contenders these guys are going to be. Next up, at honorable mention number 2, we have Abdul Razak Al-Hassan versus Munir Lazez. This is another fight between potential prospects. Unfortunately, Al-Hassan went on to get knocked out by Chaos Williams, and Lazez got finished by Worley Alvarez due to body kicks. However, these guys are good, especially Lazez. He has great combos, hip flexibility, and an understanding of the clinch. Lazez pretty much used this fight to display his phenomenal striking and his solid grappling, knowing that he was in there with such a powerful striker such as Al-Hassan, and he was so confident and comfortable in the pocket and handling himself well. He has razor elbows, long high kicks, and clean boxing. He makes minor adjustments with his guard and head positioning to defend and avoid a lot of damage coming his way. Next up, honorable mention number 3. We actually have a boxing match for this one. We have Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. 3, the trilogy fight. I know that this is a boxing match, but it was a match for the history books nonetheless. Deontay Wilder actually made some adjustments for this and had a much better showing than his last outing against Fury. He was throwing to the body, which I was saying that he needed to do against someone like Fury. He needed to get Fury backing up because that drastically increases his chancing of getting the knockout. Wilder isn't too good at fighting off the back foot, especially against someone who utilizes feints, clinching, and the long strikes of Fury. Wilder got 2 knockdowns on Fury in round 4, but Fury showed his composure, kept his cool, and took his time getting back into the fight. For the first knockdown, Fury comes forward with his guard up. Wilder gauges the distance with his jab, setting up that straight down the center. Fury goes to parry the jab, but it was a bit too late, and he ends up opening himself up with a straight down the pipe. Fury didn't go down initially, but the damage was done, and you see him drop just a bit after, even without taking another shot. For the second knockdown, Wilder had a grip around the back of Fury's neck and just taps him behind the ear. The power this man has is incredible, absolutely unrivaled. Fury's technique and size proved to be too much for Wilder, and he ended up finding the finish in the 11th round. Wilder was looking exhausted at this point. They were clinched up, and Wilder lazily had his grip around the back of Fury's neck. Fury frames on his neck and throws out a left hook that just grazes the chin of Wilder. Wilder's back was against the ropes, and he kind of just put his arms out there while Fury finds a perfect home for his right hook. I think at that point, Wilder was just exhausted, and he wanted the fight to be over.
All right, guys. There were plenty of fights that could have been on this list, could have been easily honorable mentions, but at the end of the day, guys, there can only be one fight that truly deserves the top-tier spot on this list.
And that fight is Piotr Yawn versus Corey Sandhagen. In my personal opinion, this was the greatest fight of the year. This fight was a perfect mixture of technique, heart, and action. Piotr Yawn was constantly making minor adjustments throughout the fight that was slowly giving him the edge. Sandhagen came out strong and finished strong. He showed phenomenal footwork and countering. The first 2 rounds, he really gave Yawn a hard time, but Yawn stuck to a strong sense of fundamentals to break Sandhagen down.
Watching Piotr Yawn evolve and mold and just kind of make himself a new fighter as fights go on is insane to watch.
Yeah, his fight IQ, his adaptability in there, there's nothing else like it, honestly. Sandhagen got dropped in the 3rd round, and his defense kind of fell off afterwards. Watching him get up and keep fighting was inspiring to see, had me on the edge of my seat and almost rooting for him.
Yeah, man, I think that this fight was... It showed everything you want to see in a fight. It showed Sandhagen's heart, showed Piotr Yawn's insane technique, and yeah, dude, there's a reason it's on the top.
It showed all the things from both fighters: heart, technique, and competitiveness.
Yeah.
And those are the 3 criteria that we use to judge these fights and put them in a tiered list such as this. Both fighters mix in work to the body and utilize wrestling, so it was an all-out MMA fight rather than a kickboxing exhibition match that I was expecting to see. It was back and forth and the prime example of technique. Therefore, we put it at the top of the list. You can actually click on the link on the video now to watch a more in-depth breakdown of this fight. And that'll wrap up our thoughts on the best fights of the year. Make sure to let us know down in the comments what your favorite fights were. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, this is not a sport. You don't play fight.